Hi guys, welcome back to A Different Life Story, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Another day, another fantastic day for a beautiful guest to bring on today. I've got Cassey Holland with me. Cassey is an amazing woman who went from dope dealer to hope dealer. And that is just a story I needed to hear. So welcome, Cassey, onto my show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cassey, it is so. I mean, it's you're a young woman, so thinking back that your addiction is a matter of the past. You must have been starting early. Was it sort of kindergarten, or did you sort of get in primary school into the dope dealing? How did it go?
About second, third grade.
Yeah, exactly.
See my jacket. Come on,
That's
come on.
Exactly. Well, I guess your upbringing was a little bit different. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, so I was born in West Texas, and I grew up in a little tiny town. And then when I was about 7, we moved to New Mexico, and that was a huge culture difference for us. And so I was immediately an outcast. Immediately. And so I spent the next couple of years really trying to fit in. And I guess I got to the point I didn't actually do drugs until I was a sophomore in high school. That was the first time I did it. And the people that I was around that I did it with, they don't care who you are. You know what I mean? They are all accepting.
Exactly.
Looking back on it, it's because they're super high, but they just don't care. You know, I mean, they were all accepting. So I fit in.
Oh no! Well, that's logical, isn't it? And that is so common though, because as addicts, we try to surround ourselves with other users or drinkers or whatever your addiction is, and therefore you do no longer stand out. For you, if you look around, hey, that's all normal. See, everyone is using, so therefore there is this kind of calming effect on yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason that, of course, you lose a lot of friends, so to speak, when you stop using or stop dealing or stop drinking. But we'll come to that. That is probably something for later in the interview. So finally, you fit in, so to speak. How does that change you? If you look back at pictures from your childhood, is there a very clear change in your demeanor or change in your looks? Did you suddenly go emo or did you suddenly go punk or?
So I went from being the little girl that was the only one that always had bows in her hair to looking like a gangbanger. I had a pierced lip and crazy hair and bandanas, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, I was not cool. Not cool. I look at pictures and I'm just like, oh, whoa, wow.
What did your mum say to that? Did she just think it was sort of a normal period that a teenager goes through?
Well, so like I said, I tried it the first time when I was a sophomore, and then I didn't do it again until I was a senior. And then when I graduated, I was 17. And I went to Australia and we went to a dance competition. And we came back from that dance competition. I turned 18 in August and I moved out of my house that day.
Okay.
So that whole transformation from horse riding, bow wearing, sweet, innocent little girl to that wasn't necessarily as in their face as it could have been because I left. So.
And it's really hard, isn't it, for a parent? I mean, right now my boys are on the cusp of leaving. They're 18 and 19. And it is part and parcel of spreading your wings. Sooner or later, you have to leave. You want to stand on your own 2 feet. Were you able to hide your your frustration, the change that you were going through from your parents? Or was there, were you open with your parents?
My parents were in serious denial. And I think the day that I packed my stuff and left was pretty eye-opening for them. It would have been easier had I left for the right reasons. But I didn't. I just left just because I needed to do that elsewhere. So.
And then, of course, suddenly, if there's no more pressure, if there's no more shackles on you, you can, of course, let go. You can do whatever your reptilian brain wants you to do. How did that look like?
Yeah, and then there's no guilt like that, you know. I didn't have to worry about breaking my mom's heart and doing drugs in her house because I wasn't in her house. So the guilt was not as bad.
When you did your first drugs, what drug was it?
I did meth the first time.
Meth. Was that very prevalent? Was that easy for you to get hold of?
Way easier than I assumed, because I did it the first time and then I got out of rehab the day before my 21st birthday.
Okay.
So it was
yeah, but for 3 years.
Prevalent.
For 3
where
years.
I'm from.
Yeah. That was New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a strong gang culture there? Is that the reason that it is so prevalent? Or who is dealing? Is it mums and dads in suburbia who are dealing, or is it who was your supplier?
It's generational. It's generational. So it's a big thing there, and it's really close to Mexico.
Uh-huh.
And so there's that influence. There is a large poverty population in New Mexico. So there is a lot of gang activity. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of, and that's not to talk terrible about New Mexico. It's a gorgeous place, beautiful place to live.
Please.
The drugs are everywhere. It's awful. So.
Well, please, I live in a tourist mecca called Rotorua. Rotorua is gorgeous. I love the town, but 1% of the town is gang members or gang affiliates. Mm-hmm. And P is we call it P, so crystal meth is an absolute scorch, an absolute, it's huge here. And it's a real shame. So, but it is what it is. So you can't just say, no, because it is indigenous or because it is socioeconomics whatsoever. We don't talk about it because it is, no, this is just prejudices. See, you're going again, in our case, you're going against Maori or etc. The problem is there are certain subgroups of our society who are far more prevalent when it comes to the police radio, to drug seizures, to gang affiliation, to family harm, etc. It's that whole thing. And you obviously you found yourself straight in there. You were initially the horse riding girl, and then you actually went pretty hard into dancing, isn't it? You were a competition girl with dancing. What kind of dancing did you do?
Tap was my favorite.
Excellent. Cool. Now, when you're high as a kite, you tend not to be so coordinated, isn't it? Or what did the meth do to you when you were dancing? Were you a better dancer?
No. Well, I thought I was.
Yeah, exactly. Same with alcohol.
Yeah,
vodka.
Absolutely. You're like, I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. Shit. Injuries? Did you hurt yourself when you were under the influence?
No.
Okay,
No.
because that's so easy with alcohol. You suddenly think, of course I can do that. And yes, you could 2-3 years ago when you were training hard, and you could do a nice figure with your acrobatic move with your partner in rock and roll or so. But then when you're pissed like a fart, no, typically ends flat on the dance floor, and the only hope you have got the cheese as drunk as you, so that it's more a giggle and then actually broken bones. Oh dear. Okay, so
just more making an ass out of myself than hurting myself.
So true. Nowadays there are pictures. So you grew up in a generation where there are already pictures around, where there's already a social media a bit more, etc. I was lucky.
I skated by about this far.
Have you? You lucky girl.
That was right before MySpace.
Oh, you were lucky. You were lucky. I feel so sorry for nowadays my children, because they can't do anything. And there's so much peer pressure through the social media. It's awful. Whilst I had good times, and in actual fact, I was renowned for the parties that I threw at university. So my parties were pretty much out of this world. But the rule was no phones. We didn't have picture phones then, but it was a very clear understanding: what happens at my party stays at my party. And that was brilliant. And it was quite amazing then, so that the next morning you tried to figure out who went home with whom, etc. So it was interesting. But these were...
It really is a brilliant idea.
No, that's the only way you can do it. Or you have a phone jammer nowadays, something like that. You need to protect yourself. It's just, you want to have a normal life. God, there's so many beautiful little comical skits on the internet where you see this couple in a cafe rowing, and picture. And it's just, oh dear. Anywho, so you escaped that. So there is not too much evidence of your past.
No, because the first cell phone I had was like the block with the green screen on it that didn't have a camera.
Nokia 9010.
No evidence.
Excellent.
Yeah, you could like run over it and it would still work.
Exactly. Same here. Let's bring them. Actually, no, I love my phone. There's so many good things that I can do with my phone, but honestly, yeah. Okay, so no evidence. You were away from your parents. There was this freedom there. Where did the money come from? Because crystal meth, wherever you buy it, it's not just $5, is it?
No, it's not. But I mean, if you get in with the right people, you get to do what's called a meth head mid-level marketing.
Excellent. Okay. I didn't know that there's actually a career opportunity there, but obviously there is. I'm
I don't
impressed.
suggest it. Yeah. I don't suggest it, but it's out there.
Right. So basically you start dealing yourself in order to get the money in, and then allow yourself to procure your own trips. Which
inevitably got me kidnapped.
Kidnapped? Yeah. How did that work?
Yeah. One of the people that I was closely associated with had borrowed some money from some very unsavory people. And then he disappeared. And then a little while later, they found me at Allsup's. There's a gas station here, and put me in their car, and I had to pay off his debt.
Shit. How much are we talking about?
Shit is right.
How much are we talking about?
About $200,000.
Jump change for a middle management consultant like you at that time. How the hell did you do that?
Yeah,
how does it work?
Around was paying good.
How, in all fairness, how much does one hit actually cost, or did cost then, and does cost now? How much are we talking about?
In comparison, I don't even know what it would go for now. I mean, that was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
But back then you could get, you paid $20 and you would stay up for a few days.
Oh, wow.
So
okay. So quite a bit.
It wasn't super cheap, but it was super effective.
But if you think about it, you want to run away from your world, from your own pain, from your own suffering. And for $20, do that several days. Thank you very much. I think that's a good bang for the buck.
Hell yeah, take it.
Bloody hell. Okay, no, I didn't realize that. I was somehow under the impression that the meth would be more short acting and more so do you top that up, or how does it work actually for you in to stay up? So you basically have that every 2, 3, 5 hours, or how did you use it?
I mean, depending on how often you use, I probably used 3 or 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
By the time I was,
sure,
nice and hooked. So,
man. Okay. So there you are. And obviously you take on your own life there. Everything is, for an addict, 80-90% of the day is focused on hiding that you're using, procuring more drugs. So that's a typical thing. That's for an alcoholic, that's for a gambler, that's for a sex addict. We're all pretty much the same. So you lived in this world. How did your exterior change? How did your health change? Meth is not particularly kind on your body, is it?
No, it's not. When I went to treatment, I'm 5'6", and I've always been, an athletic build because I was always a dancer. I've always been. But when I went to treatment, I weighed 98 pounds. And I'm still, to this day, 14 years later, fixing my teeth. And it didn't start affecting my teeth until a few years after I got clean.
Interesting.
But, no sleep, no food.
Oh, exactly.
No shits to give.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, what we're talking is severe malnutrition. It's basically you probably had a worse nutrition than many people in Africa. So it's that's a fact. End of the story. Which vitamins, your body didn't see any unless you sprinkled them onto the meth. I mean,
which vitamins does jet fuel deplete?
Exactly. All of them.
Every one of them.
Exactly right. Okay. Wow. The rehab. Well, let's be clear. You were a woman who finally fit in. You were a woman who finally found herself, who made money. I mean, there would have been a success feeling there. There would have been the money there, the temptation there. Plus, there would have been the mind-altering effect of the meth. What the hell would possibly be able to stop you? You had a great time. Yeah. What changed?
It also had a pretty negative effect on my mental health.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah. So the whole new world I found was the world of shit that I had just gotten myself into. And I participated in a B&E. And if you've ever listened to Dane Cook, he's a comedian. He talks about doing a B&E. That's a breaking and entering. Also, don't suggest that ever. But I went home and I told my mom, I said, I would rather die than live like this because this is not who I am. I can't do this anymore. And I had been rescued and on lockdown in my house for like 2 months. My dad found me. They hid my car. They stashed me out. And I still was like, okay. And then that happened. And then I told my mom, I was like, this isn't who I am and I can't live like this anymore, but I can't stop. And I went to treatment 3 days later.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any contact with your parents whilst you were living through that phase?
So when I was in high school, my mom has always been a very accepting individual, for lack of better words. She's always just loved everybody. And she met a group of kids that were dancing at the high school, and they got in trouble and they wouldn't let them dance anywhere. And they were kind of a rough crowd. And so she told them, she said, I will let you use my studio as long as you protect my space, you know? And so they did that. We all ended up being a really close-knit group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got kidnapped, one of the guys that was there followed me. He followed them. And he stayed there with me. And he would text my mom and tell him, I have your daughter. I can't bring her home, but she's okay. So.
That was rather lucky, may I say.
Yeah.
Or you could say it is karma, because when you put something really good into the world and protect others or do something others, it comes back one day. And
yeah,
you were in the beautiful receiving end there.
I was.
Bloody hell.
I totally was. So that was probably the most contact I had with them at that time.
Yeah. Wow. And then you opened up to your mum, and 3 days later you were in rehab. Are there many rehab facilities in the area that you are in?
There were not any there wasn't any in New Mexico that I could go to, because part of the reason I had such a change in my personality is because I had a traumatic brain injury. And that's what started my senior year off with a brain injury. And so that caused a ripple effect. And when I tried to go to treatment, there were places that wouldn't take me because of my head injury, and then there were places that would treat the head injury but wouldn't take me because of my addiction.
Oh, no. Okay.
So I had to come back to Texas to go to treatment.
Huh. Mm-hmm. Which, of course, is a blessing in disguise, because it takes you away from the gangs, it takes you away from the people that you were dealing with. It is creating a protective bubble in which you can start healing. So actually, this is a beautiful thing. My rehab was 2.5 hours north in Auckland, and that was a superb facility. It is no longer around in the way it was. Capri Hospital was, for me, a lifesaver, but it was a protective bubble. Mm-hmm. You were in there. You were locked away, literally, for 2 weeks before you get your permission to actually go on chaperoned walks, kind of a thing. So you really have to earn your privileges again. But in that time, you can heal. You get taken out of all the mess that is in your head. Was that the same for you in Texas?
Yes. When I got to the treatment center, the lady handed me a urine specimen cup. And I just looked at her and she said, "This is the only place that you can stay when you fail this test." And I was like, cool. And I had 7 different drugs in my system.
What was going?
I was like, I'm an overachiever.
That's right. I was about to say, come on, that's quite cool. But then again, I mean, for those of you, hey, listeners and viewers out there, when you're into drugs, at one point, you don't care anymore. Just bring it on, okay? Mm-hmm. And all these drugs have different things. So you need an upper to be up, and then you need a downer to come down again. Then you have got side effects of the uppers and downers, and you take other drugs for the side effects of the uppers and downers. And then you've got side effects from the drugs that you take for the uppers and downers, and so on, and so on. Uh-huh. And in all fairness, if alcohol, it's the same. We disguise it. We are saying, oh, we are suave, we are connoisseurs. I'm a wine collector. Well, actually, I'm an empty wine bottle collector called alcoholic. But no. You dress it up. So having said it, in drugs, you can't really dress it up in any good way, apart from saying, see, I'm so macho. I can take anything. My body can take it all.
Yeah, for sure. For real, you're just like, oh, yeah, bring it.
That's odd. So what drugs did you take? What was found in your system?
Coke, meth, alcohol, marijuana, coke, mushrooms.
And an opiate
opiates.
Thrown in. Perfect.
I was going to say opiates.
The full house. Ka-ting!
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Which, of course, makes it a bitch to come off, because all of these things have actually different how shall I say, withdrawals, have different time frames of coming clean. Marijuana is a long-term bitch to get clear in your system. I mean, that hangs around for 2 months. You have got the alcohol, which is quite easy, typically 4 or 5 days of nasty withdrawal, and then you can actually start working with that brain that is coming slowly out of its stupor. But with you, you've had everything in there. Far out.
Yeah, that first 7 days was a bitch, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah. Can you remember anything of it?
Yeah. Oh, I remember it all.
Oh.
I mean, it was when I walked into rehab, there was a guy running down the hallway with pigtails and a bug net. And I was like, and I turned around and looked at my mom and I was like, you're not fucking leaving me here. No way. Mm-mm. She was like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Sure am.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God.
So, okay, well, you said, oh my God, whilst you were still under influence, or sort of just coming off it. But when then the withdrawal hit you, I mean, for guys, when you're listening there and you have no idea what a withdrawal is, imagine the worst flu you can get, so a really nasty influenza, and then couple that with the worst food poisoning that you can imagine. So it's coming typically up, it's coming down, you feel crap, you're sweating, every muscle hurts you. You think you're
cold.
Oh, exactly. And whatever you do, you can't get better. It doesn't matter if you wrap yourself up or cool yourself down or whatever. It is a bitch. And typically with the drugs that you had been taking, no surprise there. The drugs are far more powerful. I had a withdrawal, but which was far more hidden. I felt okay-ish. I didn't feel great, no surprise. But my blood pressure was through the roof. My heart rate was going. So I had a milder version of what you had. That is just because I've never taken drugs or not drugs that I was depending on. So I was lucky under these circumstances. But certainly many other of my fellow inmates were not so lucky. And so there were some like hospital scenario beds within our facility where people actually went through the acute detox. And so very much like what you had gone through. Yeah. Wow. How long were you in rehab?
28 days.
Beautiful. And unfortunately, it's always 28 days. And the reason for that is that that is the longest that typically insurance companies pay for. So therefore, all the programs are designed 28 days. Nowadays, some of them are a little bit shorter, depending upon how you address it and which clientele you take in. But that's where the 28 days come from. So it's a pure money thing. How much did it cost your mom?
About 50 grand.
50 grand US. That's right. Wow. Again, I thought I paid a lot. I paid 27,000 New Zealand, but 50,000 is heavy duty. Were they gold-plated cutlery that you had, or why did you pay 50,000? How does that work?
So I was there, like I said, for 28 days.
Yeah.
And it was an all-inclusive program. So the first thing they did was focus on nutrition because, like you said, addiction is awful on your nutrition. So their food program was based on the nutrition that your drug of choice depleted from your system.
In your case, everything. That was easy.
Yes. Yes. I gained 46 pounds in 28 days.
Wow. Oh, your body was soaking it up, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, we did meetings every day. We had classes every day, but it wasn't like a facility, if that makes sense. It was a house. It was a ranch house. There was 28 people that lived there, girls on one side, guys on one side. And there was people from all different walks of life. Everything, there was a common area in the middle and a kitchen. Nobody fought. Nobody argued. I was just like, But I'd pay 50 grand over again.
Look, this was the best investment you've ever done in your life. 50,000 is nothing. I mean, how much is your life worth?
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you really want to put a price on it? And let's be quite clear, 50,000 is chump change when you're doing drugs. I mean, how much was your habit actually costing you? Did you do the maths with hindsight?
By the time I went to rehab, my addiction was costing me about $500 to $600 every couple of days.
Every couple of days. Bingo. Ka-ching. So make it...
And
okay,
it started off with 20. So take note of that.
Yeah.
Shit gets expensive.
That's my point. So if you say $50,000, whoa, I can't afford that. You then have to say, well, actually, you could afford your drugs. So how the hell did you do that? And
you've spent more on less, I promise.
Exactly my point. And the 27,000, when my wife paid that out for me to have that all-inclusive holiday, we didn't have the money, so she had to take a loan and to pay that. But with hindsight, that was a year and a half of my alcohol bill. So since then, I have been clean. The odd little relapse in the first year or so, but all in all, let's call it clean. And therefore, I have saved accumulatively so much more in those 7 years since rehab. So therefore, it was an investment. That's the way how I look at it. That was the best investment I could have done.
In this case, you got to spend money to save money.
Yeah, touche. In the best way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Goodness. When you left rehab and you tried to sort of start getting your life back together, were there still people trying to catch up with you from your old life? Were there, did gang members or other people try to get back some product or maybe money that you were owing? How did that hit you?
I tried to take care of anything that I thought would have come up before I left.
That was a wise idea. So you obviously were actually very motivated to put an end to that phase in your life.
I was.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful, because that is often enough. We addicts, we do sort of half-hearted. Oh yeah, no, I gonna get clean, but just in case, I keep that little stash to one side there, just in case I change my mind. And so you obviously, or did you do that, or did you actually go all out?
Actually, so my parents just moved out of their house not too long ago. When we were cleaning out their house, we found a box that had like all kinds of shit in it. I was like, oh my God, please get rid of that.
I recently cleaned out my garage and there I've got this workbench, and somehow I sneaked behind there and just there. I thought, what is that? And there was this little bottle there, and it was a bottle of some health juice. And of course, I had filled it up at some stage with vodka. So it was this 8-year-old vodka there. And I just looked at my wife, look what I found.
I told my mom, I was like, I don't think that meth ages like wine.
Yeah, exactly.
14 years is probably not a good idea.
Oh, what a beautiful reminder. And like you said, oh my God, same here. There was this roller coaster of emotion there. Immediately shame, guilt, oh my God. And then a little bit of pride that actually, wow, look how far you have come. And then immediately the addict in me, hey, if you just don't tell your wife, you've got some alcohol lying around. Hey, that's cool. So when you want some, you can. And you think, what the hell? What the hell? I've done.
What is wrong with you?
I know. But it's that little voice in there, that addict that will always remain with us. You know, it is what it is. We are addicts. We love that first hit, that dopamine. I mean, we are super responders with dopamine in our brain, which means the first time you get your hit, you are, wow, that's cool shit.
This is amazing.
Exactly. But did it last for you, that hit? Did it, how long were you happy with the amount of drugs you were taking? In other words, you had your first hit, you were feeling really good. And then how did it come?
The first time I used it, I didn't know what it was. I was just like, oh, sure. And then like 30 hours later, after I hadn't fallen asleep, I was like, what was that?
Wow.
So, and it scared me. I was like, I'm not doing that again. And then I lied to myself because I did do it again quite a few times. So,
what did it give you? Initially, it gave you basically that acceptance by your newfound friends, by your new peers. But did it give you any benefits down the line? Or did you just use in order to avoid withdrawal and just use because you were using?
No, in the end, it didn't give me any benefits. It was just got me in a world of shit. Basically.
Yeah, same with the alcohol. Well, it numbed me. It numbed me comfortably, and and that's really, it stopped the pain. I think there's that one benefit that I can give it. After all, that's why I was drinking. Because I didn't want to deal with the trauma. I didn't want to deal with the things that had happened in my life, and therefore it has a benefit. So I give that single point to alcohol, or to drugs in this case. But damn, the costs of that numbness, bloody hell. So now.
I struggled a lot with my weight growing up. I was always...
Did you think you were fat, or was that what you were worrying about?
I was always just a little bit thicker than everybody in my family. I was always just, just a little bit, and it always bugged me because people always made comments about it.
Oh.
And not necessarily, I know. And and still to this day, I have like a weird food thing. Like I eat, a girl will eat. But so when I lost, a crap ton of weight, I was like, oh.
See where this is going. Did you find yourself beautiful at that time?
I think that's what I was going for. I was trying to be able to look at myself and see that.
So that kind of trailer trash beautiful kind of mixture. Is that the gangbanger? You called it gangbanger. Yeah, gangbanger beautiful.
Yeah. I don't.
And how bizarre is that? Because our brain wants to change the pain. It wants to change its own dynamics and wants to say, see, this is actually good stuff. This is good stuff. despite that 99% of the other things are maybe not so good, but no, you want to focus on that one bit. How bizarre our brain is. Anything for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. But all that, what we're talking about now, all these kind of insights, that's not what you have when you're just coming out of rehab. You're walking out of rehab and you think you've made so much progress. Wow, look how far I've come. And now we both know we have only just scratched the surface. Crying out loud. Yeah, exactly. How cute. No, the reality is there's so much more work to be done. How did it continue for you? Did you find a support network? How did you find the answers to those many questions that you didn't even know you had?
I have a fantastic support network. I just have, and I'm lucky, I'm blessed that I have that. This is probably going to piss a lot of AA people off, but I could not do the 90 meetings in 90 days. I could not do it. Couldn't do it, because every time I went to one of those meetings, all they did was talk about how bad they wanted to drink and how much better their life was when they were drunk. And how effective is that? And I was like, you guys are making me want to go out and get hammered.
I had exactly the same experience with some meetings. Exactly the same. There were some meetings that were gold because they actually really made me think. And I heard some really good stories. But I also went to other meetings where the same guy droned on for 25 minutes about how shit his life was and how good AA is. But you knew that he was white knuckling it because it was basically, if he was not at this meeting, he would be at a bar. So, and it is this kind of, oh my God. Same thing here. So that is a journey, obviously, that you do. So AA or that particular AA group did not suit you. So where did you gain your strength from? Where did you gain your support from?
I'm super instant gratification rooted. Like, I like instant.
Okay.
Still. And so I just had to refocus my brain. And instead of 12 steps, I did 3 steps, because all of the 12 will go under the 3. And instead of going through the 12 and going through the list and doing all of this and taking forever, you got to own it, you got to fix it, and you got to live it.
In a nutshell, you have broken down the 12 steps. That's exactly it.
And there's so much less pressure around those 3, because once you own it, you can make amends. You can admit that you have a problem. You can do all of that shit. You know what I mean? And then once you decide to fix it, you can go through the treatment. You can do all of these things. And then you have to live it. You have to live it every day. Every single day.
My Steps to Sobriety. That's the book that I've written, and ultimately,
oh my God, I need that.
No, you have just nailed it. You essentially boiled it down to the same principles as I have. I've basically translated the 12 steps from its traditional thing into a more modern day version, where you basically can own it, fix it, and what was the other one? How you called it? Live it. Exactly. It's the same thing. And that is what actually recovery in a nutshell is. The problem is that when you're starting off, you need the hand holding. You need someone who guides you through those things. If everyone had that insight that we now have, we wouldn't be in that scenario. But there are very clever people out there who tried their life long to deal with the childhood trauma or whatever it is, the combination of factors that led them to the drink or to the drugs. They need hand-holding, and they don't know what they don't know. I was the classic example. Step 4 in the classic AA system is that you make long lists, and one of them is about resentments. So those people you hate, these people, look what they did, and because they did that, I will now drink 2 bottles of vodka. I show them. That kind of bullshit. So I did not realize that. That was resentment and anger was a huge thing for me. And I had been bullied. I had been going through rough times there for a number of reasons. And when I actually wrote these things down on paper, and then when someone held a mirror in front of my face and asked me, well, what was your contribution to the whole thing? Suddenly I had to say, oh, yeah, actually, okay, there's more to that story. So I had no idea about that. So I needed that stepwise approach. And when I left rehab, I think I was pretty much step 4, step 5, give or take. And they recommended me then to do some meetings. And because I'm a doctor, there was also, I voluntarily was being put under the medical council here in New Zealand, under their health unit. And they said, no, you continue with your program. So now you will go twice a week to that place. And so I didn't have the choice of not going or going. I went, or my job was on the line, kind of a thing. So I went to the other place, and it was interesting too, because this other place was not bad at all, was actually potencies of where I had just come from. So that was an intriguing thing. When I thought, damn, I'm actually, the tasks that I was given to do to further myself, I might have as well taught them to the other people there. And it showed after a while, because they said, well, can you do X? And now show us what you have done. And I came up with model answers kind of a thing, because I had done all the work. So what do I want to say is, I guess the point is that there is a huge amount of work to be done. And if you can condense it into the 3 steps and truly live with it and actually know the meaning of these steps, there's absolutely nothing wrong. If you are an overachiever in a good way, not just in the 7 drugs that you had in your system.
Keep being an overachiever with
that's right. That's right. You also need to then to be an overachiever actually in your recovery and actually deal with the shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Problem, of course, is it takes time to deal with shit. Initially there would have been certain things that you dealt with, and then you left recovery or rehab and your early stages in recovery, and you thought, yeah, done it, finished, fixed. I fixed myself. Look at me. Mm-hmm. Was that a state of your recovery?
I didn't run out of rehab with butterflies and rainbows coming after me or anything, because I was 28 days clean. I still was dealing with, because like I said, my head injury caused a lot of chemical imbalances. So I was dealing with anxiety and depression before I started doing that. Got off the drugs. My anxiety and depression were way worse. And so I came to rehab to get off drugs, and I left rehab on 4 different kinds of medication.
But there's nothing wrong with that, because doctors would have basically assessed you and would have thought, okay, these drugs are to actually help you sleep, because you need that.
They were amazing.
Yeah, beautiful.
They were amazing. Beautiful. One of them, they were antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication. And then I had, because one of the things that it really jacked with was my impulse control.
Well, normally, addicts are not very known for impulse control.
But it made it way worse. Okay. So they gave me a medication to help with that.
Which medications would you mind sharing? What was helped you?
So I was on Zoloft. Yeah. I was on. I can't even remember what it was called.
Okay. No, that's
14 years ago. But I left there, and I was on that medication for about 6 months after I left. And I remember for the first time in years stopping and thinking before I acted.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with the medication that helps you.
Oh, please. And that's so important. That's so important. For me, it was the sleep. I was working stupid hours, 16-hour days, and then I would be drinking to actually calm down off that high. The problem was that alcohol would give me a second wind. So I would be suddenly, bidding, bidding, yes, I've been awake 20 hours, but let's clean the garage or let's do whatever it needs to be done. And no surprise, so I was essentially like a meth addict, just keep going, like the Energizer Bunny, just going mad, and the batteries rarely ran out, but they did run out. And when they ran out, it was a massive burnout. So I would be going, crashing for a few days, getting colds and stuff like that. So please, I've lived that life and I've got the mental scars from it. And then suddenly you come into rehab, and suddenly they gave me tablets to allow me to sleep. So a certain antipsychotic that is used in New Zealand, and it worked like a treat. So there I was standing at 8 o'clock sharp. Come on. My sleeping tablet, so to speak. And she said, "Hey, don't you want to stay a bit up? It's 8 o'clock. And I said, no, I haven't slept for many years. Now I became fiercely defensive of my sleep. And it was the most beautiful, beautiful thing. Even nowadays still, it is, I love my sleep. Still from that time, I'm still catching up, I guess.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me, the karma and the taboo that is around antidepressants and sleep aids. And let me tell you something, if it helps you show up, take that fucking pill.
Exactly.
I don't care what it is.
Exactly. And you need that to start off with. Later down the line, you can taper off, etc. But look at the goals that you have. You want to be there. You want to be able to show up and do the work that you need to do to get clean in your head. And with that, I don't mean clean in your body, coming off the drugs. That's the start. Clean in your head means that you're actually dealing with the problems that are there. And if you're sleep deprived, well, that doesn't work. And if you're full of anxiety, abnormal, pathological anxiety, and there is something we can do for the time being to calm that down a bit, whilst you're learning the skills to later naturally deal with anxiety attacks, to accept that there are waves in the ocean. You can't do anything about the wave. The wave will come. And this anxiety attack will come. But like a wave, it comes and goes. So basically, what's your anxiety attack like? Is it a minute? Well, fine. Wait a minute. 5 minutes? That's cool. Go to the toilet, have a pee, hyperventilate. And in 5 minutes.
Whatever you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's done. So if you once you have learned those techniques, you don't need the drugs anymore. But don't just try to do it all. Don't just try to be the superhero. Now I do it all. And look, my body is a temple. I won't take these drugs. But I snort everything that someone gives me on a plate. Thank you.
Yeah, get your ass down off your righteous high horse.
We had actually quite a few girls like that in my rehab. Oh, no, I don't want to do that to my body. So it's funny that you say that. I got that flashback there.
Well, it cracks me up. They're like, oh, I will do all the coke that you will give me, but I'm not going to take that antidepressant because so-and-so at the country club will find out, and then I'll be a mental freak. I'm like, really?
Exactly.
You were just, what? Okay.
That's how our brain works. Crikey. So now you're there 14 years later. For many of us addicts, once we've gone through the shit and once we have actually done the work so we got our own head clean, sooner or later, you start to give back. And initially, it might be not necessarily so obvious to yourself, but it might be in little discussions with someone that you actually open up to about your own trauma and your own things, and you start seeing the smiles on other people's faces or the relief on other people's faces when you actually share your story and they said, "Oh, God, I felt like that, and yes, I actually do that and that at the moment." It's so beautiful, isn't it? Did that happen to you too?
You haven't learned what you've learned for nothing. And I always tell people, I do a lot of sobriety coaching. And I always tell people your struggle will be somebody's survival guide one day.
Exactly.
Because, you know, if you went through it and you survived it, then you're proof that they can too. And so
it's beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It really is, because it might be shit right now, but it's for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's beneficial. There's going to be somebody down the line that is in that same line of shit that needs exactly what you know.
Exactly. And guess what? The trauma that you have suffered is there. And you're not the first one who has suffered that particular trauma, whatever your circumstances are. And you're not the first one who then acted out with drugs or alcohol or behaviors that you're not proud of. I think that's the beautiful thing. Once you start surrounding yourself with other addicts that have been there, done that, and you listen to their stories, suddenly you realize, whoa, okay, I thought I was bad, but no, he or she got the crown there today. And it's so beautiful. An example is, you don't know who actually in your environment needs the help. I had written my Steps to Sobriety over a few weeks, and basically the book was finished by January when we came back from Christmas holidays. So first day in the changing room, I got changed. A colleague came in and said, "Oh, Happy New Year. What did you get up to? What did you do?" And I said, "Well, I wrote a book." And he said, "Oh, what did you write about?" I said, "My Steps to Sobriety." He looked at me. "What did you do that for?" And it was the most bizarre thing. And I thought, just because I had to, I wanted to. Huh. And I was finished. I went to my theater. He went to his theater. A few hours later, I got a text, "Stefan, can we talk?" And here he was, a man who had just basically lost part of his life due to the consequences of alcohol. And he was a man who is very high in my esteem. He is a man who I thought, wow, he's got his ducks in a row. He is a good doctor. He has got finances sorted. He is, wow, what a guy. I had him up there on a pedestal. And here he was, going through a lot of shit. And
I sold meth to lots of those guys.
Exactly right.
Judges, doctors, lawyers.
Exactly. So addiction transcends absolutely every strata of society. And I think that is so important to realize. So guys, when you listen to that, you're not alone, okay? And whatever you've done, we've all have done it. Some people sold their bodies, some people sold their soul, some people did B&Es, some people did DUIs, you name it, we've done it. Come on. Yeah. So, and it is not a pissing contest, okay? This is basically, you have done what you have done. But guess what? The past does not equal the future. Your choice to take action is there every single second of the day. So the sheer fact that you're now listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube video means you are actually on the right track. You have decided to make a change. So welcome to the family. Welcome to the new kind of brotherhood and sisterhood here of people who have done things that they're not proud of and are now living a life that we wouldn't have it any other way. Okay.
Yeah.
So
one thing I want people to understand is that it's okay to laugh about it.
True.
Like, for real. You have got to get to a place where you're comfortable talking about your recovery, making jokes about your recovery, because it makes other people uncomfortable.
That's true too. True.
They hear drug addict and they're just like,
oh. Exactly.
because everybody knows what a drug addict is capable of. But nobody takes the time to think about what they're made of, not capable of, right? So it's okay to make jokes about it. It took my dad a couple of years, but he made a joke one time about meth and I about died laughing. And I was just like, oh my God, Dad, you made your first dope joke. I'm so proud of you.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
It's okay. Laugh.
Very true. And that is so important, because that's where doctors and nurses are renowned for their gallow humor, because our humor is plaque, because we've seen it. We've seen the deepest abyss, the worst things that you can see, you see as a doctor. And it's a bit the same as an addict in recovery. You've been there, you've done that. And at some stage you come out and, well, if you get your shit together, not much shocks you anymore. And that's beautiful. So that's where the jokes come in. And I love it that you use humor in order to break the ice and to suddenly put people in a place where they question themselves and question, what did she just say?
They're like, do I laugh? Do I not laugh?
I know, exactly. No, it's brilliant. And I know that you're nowadays doing quite a bit of coaching there. If people want to get to know you better, and if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
So I'm on Facebook, of course. I just started a new blog page called Guided by Grace. And I have another page called Guided by Grace, One Day at a Time. And it's an open page where people can come and talk and discuss. And the only rule I have is that you have to be kind. Does religion play a strong role? I mean, the crucifixes behind you are a little bit of a giveaway that maybe this could be the fact. Man, Jesus is my homeboy. Like, he has got my back for sure.
Excellent.
If it wasn't for my faith and grace and compassion, I wouldn't be here. So
and that's the beautiful thing. But I think in the 12-step system, God plays quite a big role, and traditionally it has been so for AA. Keeping in mind that it was a system that was put together in the 30s in the United States, and in order to make that system of recovery acceptable, the founders of the system basically thought, well, how can we sell that? They were very good salespeople, and they said, okay, we need God in there, so because that everyone is God driven. So there you go. So therefore, a lot of things are God. If you are secular, or if you have a different faith, then that is by no means a stumble stone. It makes no difference if you believe in one deity or another deity or in no deity whatsoever. It does not matter, because God can be a group of druggies or a group of orderly drunks. It's basically the power of a community, the power of human connection, and the power of surrounding yourself with people who have been in the shit, gone through it, learned the lessons, and are now sharing their lessons with you. That's what God is. Indeed.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Grace and compassion is universal.
Absolutely. So, and if you listened to this interview here today, Cassey, you didn't say Jesus Christ or God once. You were very open, yet it was a natural part of you. So in other words, you would take on anyone who is willing to engage with you and where you see that there is hope, that this person really means what he is doing. So if, let's say, a person would be a Hindu, making up here, you would have no problem with that?
No, absolutely not, because I guarantee you there's something that you know that I don't know. So I can learn just as much from you as you can from me.
Absolutely. And with that, you have just defined essentially a lot of things that are happening to us still now, whilst we are starting to give back. Me in the sense of running this channel here and this show here, you in the face-to-face coaching. We are still on a journey. And it is such a beautiful journey because I do not stop learning. And every day I learn more, and every day I meet more beautiful people. That's where I'm forgive me the pun, that's why I'm hooked on doing this podcast, because it is an addiction, because I meet so many fantastic people, and I get an hour of therapy here, basically for free. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, exactly, because we are reflecting, and there is not a single interview where I not go away and think, where suddenly another thing is clicked in my head, maybe a realization that maybe there's some trauma I had not dealt with enough. Maybe there is where I suddenly say, that's why that happened. And that is strengthening you. These are the little steps that you're making every day. And these are building stones that you put on top of each other. And you end up with this life, which is so much more robust, where storms will come, but you suddenly can weather them in a such a better way than you were doing that in the past, when you were still using, and whatever came along, you were just using. That was the only thing you knew how to do. And now suddenly you've got this whole armamentarium of powerful tools, a kit set of techniques that where you can say, well, bring it on. And 95% of what you throw at me, I will be able to deal with. And then there are 5% where you think, oh, shit. And then you learn how to deal with that.
You do, because your option is to not.
Yeah.
And that's not an option.
Correct. Because you have learned the power. You're a unique person because you have achieved so much. You have become this driven person. You have got this ball of energy that makes you so different, and that is beautiful, 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 beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cassey, you're a fantastic, fantastic guest, and you're a lovely woman, and it's just amazing. Now, I need to ask with the crosses there. We've got a lot of crosses in the house too, because my wife is equally very religious. She found Jesus Christ. Ours are smaller. Over every door there is a cross here. That's okay. I'm secular, but I know how much it means to her, and it puts a smile on my face. Did you do some of them yourself? Are you an artist there yourself, or do you just live in areas where there are very good guys who are making these things?
Yeah, most of them are gifts. I have one that says, "It's well with my soul," and then the rest of them are just decorative. So.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Mm-hmm. And again, whatever it takes to put a smile on your face and to give yourself the reassurance and the resolution that you know that you're on the right path, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I love it that you live your life to the fullest, and you live your life with your conviction, with your, this is me, this is Cassey, these are my crosses, like it or lump it, and this is the new me.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Well, exactly. And look at this power. Look at this beautiful self-confidence, the self-love that comes from these hard times that we've come through. And now we're
self-love is where healing comes from. And let me tell you, once the little girl is healed, the woman shows up.
Oh, please.
So.
I hope that not the woman shows up. Then
I hope
I'm in
your
trouble.
woman doesn't show up. I hope your inner woman doesn't show up one day. But
exactly. I think your point is so valid. We have got such a beautiful path still to go, and let's do that. Let's make this world a bit better. The world needs it right now. And so, guys, if Cassey's message resonates with you, please get in touch. All her social media details are down there in the description of the video and in the description of the podcast. So don't be shy. Say hello. There's far worse things that you could do, and it is time for all of us to take those little steps to make us better, and then in turn radiate this positivity around us. And who knows, maybe we can actually make this world a better place. Maybe we can, because if everyone does it, then wow, what could we achieve, right? Would that not be nice?
A whole bunch of little tiny things adds up to really big things.
Hell yes. Cassey, you were gorgeous as a guest. Thank you so much for coming on to my show.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And you guys out there, look after yourself. Make the best of this day. Take one little decision at a time. And who knows where that leads you. Look after yourself. Bye. Dream on, dream